You were doing so well with your weight loss journey, but then something got in the way. A vacation, work picked up, you were really, really busy, and then you completely fell off track. Today, we're talking about how to get back on track with weight loss and overcome the all or nothing thinking that gets you off track in the first place. Welcome to the Fit and Fulfilled Show. If you're a busy professional woman who wants to finally prioritize your health and happiness, this is the place to be. I'm your host, Soraya Russell, certified macro nutrition coach, mindset coach, and a lifestyle transformation coach. And each week, I share practical strategies to help you build sustainable habits, boost your energy, become obsessed with what you see when you look in the mirror, and feel confident and strong in your body, all without feeling stressed, burned out, or guilty. Let's dive in. So it's very common for things to come up when you're trying to lose weight. You're not always going to be working at home in the same routine for the rest of your life. It's normal to have things derail you. It's normal to have vacations, holidays, things come up. But the women who are successful with weight loss know how to navigate these seasons without getting off track and staying off track. So let's talk about how to reset after you feel like you've fallen off track and how to create more consistent habits so this doesn't happen as frequently. So the first thing we have to do is change our mindset. The terminology falling off track creates the thought in your head that there's a track to fall off of. And there's not. With weight loss, it's not like you look over the edge and there's just a pit that you can fall into. It's you just living life and going through the ebbs and flows. So you saying things like, oh, I'm off track with weight loss, I fell off track, is you basically mentally telling yourself that you're an all or nothing person. You are either on the track or off the track when there isn't a track to begin with. Weight loss is not a linear path. And even when you think of a chart of someone's weight loss journey, so say that they have lost weight 170 pounds to 130 pounds, right? If you look at that chart week after week, it's not a linear line down. It's not straight from 170 to 160 to 150 to 140. There's probably a period where the chart spiked up a little bit, then spiked down, spiked up and spiked down. So when you understand this, there's no track to fall off of because essentially the track to weight loss is not one that's straight. There are bumps in the road, and that's part of your success story. It's not a failure. And the reason that falling off track, quote unquote, feels so devastating is because it makes you feel like you are failing. So if you plan to eat your meal prep every single day, that was the plan you had in your mind, and then one day you did not do that, in your mind you feel like a failure because you had a plan, but that plan was not met perfectly. This also goes into the perfectionism trap. We think that if we don't do something perfectly, nothing matters at all. I plan to walk 7,000 steps. I walked 5,000, but it's not 7,000, so it's nothing. We have to start seeing things as progress over perfection. If you've done more than zero, you're moving in the right direction. And so when we can have that mindset, we're able to stay consistent because we don't feel like one small derailment means we've completely thrown everything out the window. You also might experience guilt or shame after you've done something that's not in alignment with your plan. And guilt or shame is a very strong emotion because it leads to complacency and it leads to you not wanting to do anything. So say that you ate out, right? And you didn't plan to. You planned to eat at home, but you ate out instead. That's not fundamentally a bad thing, but the shame and guilt associated with you doing something that's different than what you said that you were going to do leads to you just feeling like, well, now I don't want to do anything. Now I don't want to do my workouts. Now I don't want to eat my meal prep. And that's what kind of makes you go back to your old habits to begin with. So we got to get out of this mindset of letting shame and guilt control us. It's normal to feel a bit of shame and guilt when you do something you didn't plan to do, but you get to choose what you do with that emotion. Are you going to let it continue to let you not eat your meal prep, not do your workouts? Or are you going to recognize, I feel this emotion because I'm human and I maybe didn't do something I said I was going to do. But guess what? Tomorrow, I am going to do what I say I'm going to do, and I'm going to move forward. That small mindset shift is the difference between you reverting back to old habits and you staying consistent with your goals. So the first thing we want to do to change these patterns is to change our language. Words have so much power. When you speak negative, you get more negative in your life. When you speak positive, you have more positive in your life. You can see this with a lot of things in your personal life and people around you. If you're always saying how much you hate your body, how you feel disgusted when you look in the mirror, how you don't have any energy, how you're weak, that's what your life is reflecting because you're talking about it so much. And so that's what happens. But if you start saying different things like, I'm a woman who prioritizes my healthy habits. I'm a woman who is strong. I'm a woman who is confident. When you start saying those things aloud, your actions follow. And I know it sounds a bit woo woo. It sounds a little out of left field, but I'm telling you to try it. When you speak more positively about yourself, your body, and your habits, your actions follow because brain leads to body responses. If you have a positive mindset about something, your body then starts to have positive feelings. A simple example is I woke up this morning. I'm on my period. And I woke up and I was like, I feel like bleh, I don't want to do anything. I had plans to have a very productive day, but I was laying in bed and mentally I was saying, oh, well, maybe I just won't do this. I won't do that. I'll do it later because I don't feel good. But then I remembered your mindset has power. So I shifted my thoughts. I said, okay, I don't feel the best, but I'm going to get these things done. I'm going to have a productive day. I'm going to have a good day. I took a second to journal a little bit. I got out of bed. And guess what? As I'm recording this, I'm having a very productive day. I've now recorded my second podcast episode for the day. I made myself breakfast. I planned out some content. And that's because I started my day saying, let me change my thoughts, and my behaviors have followed. This applies to anything in life, including weight loss. So some language changes you can use are, for example, instead of saying something like, I ruined all my progress, you could say, I overate for a couple days, but tomorrow I'm going to get back to eating my normal amount of calories. You see how we took something and made it negative in the beginning by saying, I ruined this, and instead we just said the facts. I overate for a couple days. Factual, not positive, not negative. Tomorrow I'm going to get back to eating my goal amount of calories. Very neutral language. It doesn't make you feel bad or good. It's just these are the facts, and this is factually what I'm going to do tomorrow. Instead of saying something like, I need to eat clean next week to make up for what I did this weekend, you could say, I'm going to focus on consistency this next week. That's it. That's a very neutral statement. You see how we went from, I need to do something extreme to make up for something extreme I did this past weekend. Instead, you're saying, this week, I'm focusing on XYZ, consistency. This removes the shame and guilt from things and makes them more factual and neutral, and you focusing on making consistent changes over time. This works because your brain believes the language that you use. If you use the language of someone who has a bad relationship with food, you are going to continue to have a bad relationship with food. If you start using the language of someone who has a good relationship with food, you will start having a good relationship with food. Words are power, so use them to help you achieve your goals. The second thing you want to do is a 24-hour reset rule. What this means is if you missed a workout, ate more than planned, a lot of times I see women, if this happens on a Wednesday, they're like, okay, I blew it this week. I'm going to get back on track on Monday. Don't wait till Monday. Within 24 hours, get just back to consistency. So what this can look like is if you missed a workout on Wednesday, say, okay, tomorrow, I'm going to make that workout up. If you ate, a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich, fries, and soda today when you plan to eat your meal prep, tomorrow, just eat your meal prep dinner. So you see how this change allows you to, it saves you like 4 to 5 days. So if you allowed yourself to continue those habits throughout the week, not getting back into your normal routine, Wednesday through Sunday, you're just winging it. You're not eating your proper calories. You're not doing your workouts. And so that's 5 days of progress that you basically lost because you just decided, well, I didn't do perfectly, so I'm throwing it out the window till Monday. But if you say, okay, Wednesday, maybe I wasn't as consistent as I like to be, but tomorrow I'm going to focus on consistency. Now, Thursday through Sunday, you're back to your normal routine. So this makes a big difference long term. Instead of stopping and starting, 4 days you're being consistent, the other 3 days you're winging it, and it's a constant cycle. You may have 1 or 2 days where maybe you do something that was not part of your plan, but you allow yourself to get back into your routine within the 24 hours that you plan to. So I want to clarify, what this doesn't look like is starving yourself the next day for overeating the previous day. That's all or nothing thinking. That's not what we want to focus on. This does not look like doing 2 workouts the next day to make up for the one you missed the previous day. That's also all or nothing extreme thinking. This simply means getting back to your routine the next day, not trying to go extreme to make up for what you did. So, for example, we had a client who really struggled with all or nothing thinking. So she would get on some sort of diet. She would do well for maybe Monday through Thursday. Then Friday through Saturday, she'd have one small thing like a slice of pizza, chocolate, cookies, ice cream. And then she'd be like, well, the whole weekend is ruined now. I'm just going to eat whatever I want, and then I'll get back to it on Monday. So what would happen is she would see some weight loss progress throughout the week, but then she'd go back to her normal weight when she weighed in on Monday because she'd be consistent for a couple of days and then not as consistent the following days. So we helped her create that balance of understanding, hey, If you feel like during the week you do something that wasn't part of your plan, maybe you had a slice of pizza at work, donuts, pizza, cookies. Within 24 hours, here's the routine that you have for yourself. You'll just get back into that routine. We helped her change her mindset around this with calls with our therapist and calls with our coaches. And so the next time she had those things happen where she ate something that she didn't plan to, she missed a workout, she would course correct within 24 hours. This allowed her to see consistent results week after week versus seeing a little bit and then reverting back. A little bit and reverting back. Within 12 weeks of working with us, she lost 18 pounds. She had never lost that much weight in that long of a period because she'd always quit or revert after a couple weeks. And so this allowed her to feel confident in her habits because she knew I don't have to be perfect. If I make a quote unquote mistake or something I didn't plan to do, I don't have to beat myself up or feel ashamed or wait till a new month or a new week. I can get back to my normal habits the next day. And so now that we helped her change her mindset, she's maintained her results for the past 2 years. The next strategy is the good enough re-entry plan. I find that a lot of our clients who are perfectionists struggle with this previously, where they're like, well, if I'm not doing things perfectly, then I'm doing something wrong. The good enough reentry plan means that, say that you plan to do 7,000 steps, you did 5,000. That's great. That's more than, I think, 80%, right? Maybe more than 70%. And so when you have good enough standards for yourself when it comes to getting back into consistency, that's better than zero and that feels like progress. Say you came back from a week-long vacation, and so perhaps you didn't work out during that vacation, and you might need to ease into things. Maybe you can't lift the same amount of weight you lifted prior to going. Maybe you need to ease into your walking. So the good enough might be, okay, this week I'm coming back. I'm just going to focus on walking every day. I'm not implementing strength training when I come back. Then the week after, then I can implement strength training. Maybe the week I come back, I'm not meal prepping all my meals. Maybe I'm eating out for lunch, but I'm practicing the plate rule. So these good enough standards allow you to start getting back into your consistent habits without you feeling like, oh, well, I'm not able to do everything 100%, so I'm going to do nothing. So the good enough reentry plan basically says that you have a good enough standard for yourself to say, hey, this is the minimum of what I'm going to do. If I've done that, I'm good. It might not be 45-minute workouts a week. It might not be 7,000 steps a day, but I did 5,000 steps a day. I did one workout this week. I lifted for 10 minutes. That's still good enough, and good enough gets us to our results because it creates consistency over time versus perfection. The next thing you have to analyze is why you quote unquote get off track in the first place. Like, what are those triggers? So, for example, is it unplanned things? For example, work stress, personal stress, family stuff? Or is it planned things like a vacation, travel? And so you want to identify what are those things for you because when you identify and know what your triggers are, it helps you to be proactive versus reactive. Is it emotional eating that gets you off track? So when you're stressed from work, when you're bored, when you're sad, that makes you want to eat. And that's what causes you to get off track with your habits and feel like you got to get back on track. So identify and think about the last couple times that you feel like you quote unquote slipped up with weight loss. Think about what happened. Was it something happened at work? Was it something in your personal life? Was it emotional eating? Was it travel or vacation? Once you identify what the main theme is, that will allow you to identify when those things come up in the future and allow yourself to make a different decision before taking that action that doesn't align with your goals. So say, for example, for you, it's vacations are the things that tend to make you feel like you're falling off and you're trying to get back on track. So the vacation is not a problem. The travel is not a problem. Your mindset in this case is the problem. So in this case, you want to focus on a re-entry plan. So basically having low standards for what you need to do to kind of get back into your normal habits. So if before the vacation, you were lifting 4 times a week, walking 10,000 steps a day, when you come back from your vacation, start slow, start steady. Maybe focus on 7,000 steps a day. 2 lifts that week, right? You want to ease your way into it. And then the week after that, maybe then you can go back to your 4 lifts per week and your 10,000 steps a day. But when you do this, you create the good enough mentality to know when I come back, I'm easing into my consistent habits. I don't have to go from not working out on vacation to now going right back to working out 4 days a week. If your triggers tend to be unplanned chaos like work stress or family stress, you need a way to manage these emotions that aren't food. That could look like going for a walk, reading a book, reading your Bible, journaling. Basically, having strategies to help you process and manage these unplanned chaos moments that don't revolve around food. Because the thing with food is you eat it, you feel good in the moment, but once the food is done, you still feel stressed, you still feel bored, you still feel lonely, or whatever it is. But when you go for a walk, you're able to mentally think through your emotions. When you read or when you journal, for example, you're able to journal through your emotions. So we want to find a healthier way to cope with these unplanned things that might allow us to or might cause us to feel emotionally a bit disrupted. So if you're coming back from a vacation or a trip or you're trying to recreate healthy habits, here are a couple things that my clients have done that help them get back into those routines that don't feel overwhelming or intense. The first thing is focusing on water consumption. So, focusing on drinking 1 cup of water when you wake up in the morning, cup of water before each meal. Second thing you can do is focus on eating a protein rich breakfast. This does not require a bunch of meal prep, a lot of time. There's so many different options. You could have a protein smoothie, you could have protein waffles, egg sausage, veggie scramble, Greek yogurt bowl. So many different things, but this allows you to start your day with protein, which will keep you full and satisfied. And it's a small thing you can do to kind of get back into those consistent habits. The third thing you can do is just plan on moving your body for 10 to 15 minutes at a time. This could look like walking before you start your workday, walking at lunch, walking in the evening. But this allows you to start getting movement in without it feeling like it's an intense 45-minute workout or that you have to do, 4 workouts that week. It helps you to start getting walking back into your normal routine and habits without it feeling like it's too much. So those are some of the things I recommend doing when you're trying to get back into a consistent routine after some sort of holiday, travel, or anything else. Some things you should not do when you're trying to get back into your routine is number one, weigh yourself immediately after. So what I see with a lot of women is after a vacation, they get on the scale to see the damage they've done. And for me, this is something I do, but I do it to showcase to my audience, hey, this is kind of what weight loss, can look like when you've gone on a trip, when you're still, so consistent with your habits. But if you don't have a healthy relationship with your body or with the scale, I don't recommend you get on it after some sort of long vacation because that could cause you to spiral, try to just starve yourself, work out all the time. When it's not necessary, a lot of that's probably water weight. So don't get on the scale because you're not looking at it for helpful information. You're looking at it to figure out if you're going to feel good about yourself or if you're going to feel bad about yourself. The other thing you don't want to do is detox or do some sort of extreme restriction. So sometimes I see women when they come back from a trip, they're like, okay, I'm going to do a juice cleanse for the next 7 days. I'm going to fast. I'm going to eat super low calorie to make up for what I did. And that's not sustainable long term. So you shouldn't do it just to get back on track after a vacation. Because what will happen is number one, you're not going to stick with it the whole 7 days. Or number two, you will. But then after that 7 days, what are you going to do? Go back to your normal habits, which can just lead to you regaining anything that you lost during the juice cleanse in the first place. Another thing you should not do is over exercise to punish yourself. If you typically work out 3 days a week when you're not on vacation, when you come back from vacation, don't now try to do 5 days to make up for not working out on vacation. Just go back to your 3 days a week, or if you're trying to ease into it, start with 1 day, start with 2 days. But don't try to go from 0 to 100 because that's just a negative mindset around fitness. You're seeing it as punishment, something you have to do to make up for what you've done, when that's not what it should be seen as. Another thing you want to do is maintain momentum during imperfect seasons. So, for example, say that it's the holidays and you're not at home, so maybe you're not meal prepping your food, maybe you're not, at your gym. You want to have your non-negotiables that you still do even during these seasons, and that'll help you keep the momentum going. So, for example, if you're staying at your aunt's house or at a hotel during the holidays, still focus on walking your 7,000 steps every single day. Still focus on getting your water in every single day. Focus on having a high protein breakfast, whether that's you going to get some fast food, but ordering a high protein option, you making some food at a family member's house, then making some food for you, and you focusing on the protein items on your plate, but kind of have these things that you can still focus on and help you continue having your momentum, even when you're not in an environment that is yours. And you want to celebrate these things. Sometimes I think we only celebrate if we're perfect, we're hitting everything that we're supposed to do. But if you're on vacation, if you're out of town for the holidays and you're still sticking to the minimum things you said that are important for you, like the high protein breakfast, the walking, the water, that's to be celebrated because those things make a big difference with you creating consistency and momentum. Sometimes you're not going to be able to do everything you plan, your workouts, your walking, your meal prep, whatever else it is, but you can have minimum things that you can do regardless of where you are. So when you focus on that and celebrate being able to still hit those minimum standards, that'll help you keep momentum going and you can add things on top of that. And those things are bonuses on top. They're cherries on top versus feeling like the minimum standard, which makes it harder because say that you're like, I have to hit 3 workouts every single week, non-negotiable. I have to walk 10,000 steps a day. If you can't do that one week, you feel like a failure. But if your minimum is walking the 5,000 steps, drinking water, and having a high protein breakfast, then you're probably going to feel like you're winning most weeks. And then the weeks where you're also getting in your 3 workouts and you're also doing these different things, it's like, wow, I'm excelling, right? Instead of feeling like, oh, well, this is the minimum. And that keeps you staying consistent and feeling motivated and having momentum because the things that you're holding yourself accountable to are things that you can do through all different types of seasons. So here's some common mistakes to avoid when you're trying to get back to your consistent habits. The first is waiting for Monday or a new month. Dates are man-made. So waiting for Monday, it feels like it makes sense because it's a fresh start, but you get to decide in your mind when you get to have a fresh start. That can be tomorrow if tomorrow's a Thursday. You get to decide that and you get to tell yourself, I don't have to wait till a new week or a new month to start. I can start today. I can start right now. The second mistake is trying to make up for something you did or didn't do with extreme tactics. So for example, starving yourself the next couple days because you overate on the weekend. Working out 5 days this week because you missed a couple workouts last week. That creates a negative mindset with food, with your body, and with exercise, and you don't have to go through extremes to see results. You just have to create momentum. So if that looks like, hey, I missed a workout the previous day, I'm just going to do that same workout today versus doing two that day. I maybe didn't eat my meal prep yesterday. I'm not going to starve myself the next day. I'm just going to eat my meal prep. These habits of just getting back into your consistent habits versus doing the extremes helps you have a positive mindset with your weight loss journey and with yourself and create momentum that you can maintain over time. Mistake number 3 is trying to do this alone when you have a pattern of getting stuck. Starting with your consistent habits, stopping, starting and stopping. This to me means that there's a mindset issue here with all or nothing thinking or perfectionism. And so to change that, you need more help on the mental side of things. So self sabotage, limiting beliefs, fear of failure, even fear of success. And so when you get help to address and change those thought patterns, your behaviors change as well. And that's why with our coaching program, we don't just focus on nutrition and fitness. We have a therapist. We focus on mindset so our clients can become the person they want to be mentally, which materializes physically. The next mistake is thinking that you ruined all your progress with one meal. It is nearly impossible to gain like a bunch of fat overnight. You have to eat so many additional calories to do that. So if you have gained a bunch of weight overnight, like 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 4 pounds, a lot of times it's simply water weight. And if you just go back to your normal habits, the weight falls off. Simple example, I went on a trip for, I think, a week. I came back and the scale said I gained 6 pounds. I knew this was inaccurate, right? So what I did is I weighed myself again the next day. It said I only gained 3 pounds. The day after that, I was back to my normal weight. That's a clear sign that this was water weight that I gained and not fat. All I did was just get back to my normal habits. And within 2 days, that water weight was gone. So the thought of, oh, well, I ruined all my progress with this one meal is not factual, and you only feel that way because mentally that you think that's true, or you got on the scale and you think that's true. But if you allow yourself to get back into your normal habits and not obsess over what the scale says, you'll know that it's just water weight, and that will impact your larger weight loss journey. The next mistake is not having your minimum standards or your good enough reentry plan. So if you have gone on vacation or gone out of town, you want to have those minimum things that you say, even if I'm not in my own environment, I get these things done. When you have those, it makes it easier to maintain momentum because you're holding yourself to a standard that is practical, that's sustainable, and not something that feels impossible to maintain all the time. So this also helps you feel like you're winning consistently because even if you're not doing the 3 workouts and the walking 10,000 steps a day, you're still doing things that are helping you get towards your goals steadily and slowly over time. So thanks so much for tuning into the Fit and Fulfilled show today. I hope you walked away with practical strategies you can use to create consistent habits over time that lead to achieving and maintaining your weight loss goals. If you found this helpful in absolutely any way, I ask that you please subscribe and share with a friend who you think would find this helpful. And if you want to lose 20 to 50 pounds without cutting out your favorite foods, I'd love to invite you to apply for our coaching program, the Fit and Fulfilled Academy. In the Academy, we help busy professional women like you by providing the coaching, guidance, and support you need with nutrition, fitness, and mindset to achieve lasting weight loss. All the details are down below. Next week, we're diving into a brand new topic that you're not going to want to miss. But until then, remember you deserve to feel as confident in your body as you do in your career. Take care.